Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into some expert advice on getting your home ready to sell.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we've got this great piece called Updating Your Home Before Selling, and it's full of insights from real estate pros from all over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and our mission here is to help you get the absolute best price for your house without you having to spend a fortune on, unnecessary renovations. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great goal, and I think it's definitely possible to do that.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people think they have to, gut their entire kitchen or bathroom to get top dollar.
Right. And that's just not true.
Yeah, and the article really drives that point home. Like, there's this great quote from Kathleen Myers. She's a realtor in Portland, and she talks about how important it is to make a home, market ready instead of move in ready. And
Yeah.
that was such an interesting
And
distinction.
that's a really good point.
Like, what exactly is that sweet spot? I mean, I get the idea, but how do we hit it?
Well, I think when you say move in ready,
Mm.
you're thinking about buyers who literally want to just walk in with their suitcase, and that's it.
Right, nothing to do but unpack.
Yeah, exactly. But with market ready, it's more about, highlighting the potential of the home,
Mm-hmm.
but still leaving some room, for the buyers to be able to imagine their own personal touches.
I can see how that could be a tricky balance to strike. Like, you want it to look amazing, but you also don't want to turn off buyers who might have a totally different style than you.
Yeah, you don't want to make it so specific that they can't picture themselves living there.
It's funny, there's that anecdote in the article that really stuck with me. It's from Rosa Galarza, a realtor in Nashville,
Yeah.
and she talks about these new homeowners who, like, immediately ripped out all the brand new light fixtures that the previous owner had just installed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a waste of money.
Right. And it just goes to show that you really can't please everyone.
You can't.
So how do we strike that balance? How do we hit that market-ready sweet spot without, overdoing it?
Well, I think one of the best places to start is with staging. Even before you start thinking about renovations, it's all about, presenting your house in the best possible light.
I love that, setting the stage. And, speaking of light, there was this great tip in the article from Kadesha Thomas. She's with Sotheby's. And she suggests swapping out regular light bulbs for, like cool white or daylight bulbs.
Interesting.
Yeah, she says it makes a huge difference in photos, makes the home look so much brighter and more modern.
Yeah, and that's so important. I mean, those online listings, those are the first impressions that people get of your home.
Right, and if it looks dark and dingy in the pictures, they might not even bother coming to see it in person.
Exactly. And good lighting can really change the whole feel of a space.
Now, this probably seems obvious, but the article really stresses the importance of a deep clean. And we're not talking about just tidying up. We're talking about, deep, deep cleaning, the kind that makes the whole house feel fresh and well cared for.
Right, and that makes sense.
Yeah, and Kathleen Myers actually says that cleaning can actually signal to the buyer that you care about your home,
Oh, that's interesting.
which can make a big difference when they're trying to decide between, multiple properties.
For sure. I mean, if you're comparing two similar homes and one is sparkling clean, the other one's kind of grimy.
Well, yeah, I know which one I choose.
Exactly. It just shows you've taken care of the place.
Okay, so let's talk about the kitchen, because that's usually a big selling point, right? But the good news is, the experts say you don't need a full-on remodel to make a difference, thank goodness, because those can get expensive.
They can. They can.
So what are some of the smaller things we can do to give our kitchen a little refresh?
Well, they talk a lot about refacing or painting cabinets,
Yeah.
and neutral tones like white or gray seem to be the most popular choices because, they appeal to a wider range of buyers.
Yeah, those are good classic choices.
And they also recommend, simple additions like new curtains or hand towels just to, kind of freshen up the look.
It's like giving your kitchen a little mini makeover.
Exactly.
Now, this might seem a little over the top, but the article really emphasizes the importance of cleaning. I mean, really cleaning, like scrubbing appliances inside and out, refreshing the caulk, and even, get this, cleaning inside the drawers.
Inside the drawers. Wow.
Yeah. I guess those potential buyers are looking everywhere.
I guess so. It's all about presentation, right?
I guess so. But it makes you wonder what else they're looking at.
Well, I guess we'll have to keep reading to find out.
All right, so we've covered staging, the kitchen, and the importance of a deep clean. What about bathrooms? Are those another area where we need to think about full renovations?
Surprisingly, no. Like with the kitchen, the article really emphasizes that you don't necessarily need a full-on bathroom renovation to make a big impact.
Phew. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things we can do in the bathroom to give it that market-ready look?
Again, it's often about the smaller details. Things like fresh towels, sparkling clean surfaces, and even something as simple as a new shower head can make a big difference.
Okay, so it's all about creating a certain feeling, a certain atmosphere for potential buyers.
Yeah, exactly. You want it to feel fresh and updated, like a space where they can really relax and unwind.
Got it. Okay, so we're moving outside now to talk about curb appeal because, as we all know, first impressions are everything.
Absolutely.
What are some of the key things that we need to focus on to create that wow factor when buyers first pull up to the house?
Well, landscaping is huge. Barbara Lowry, she's a realtor from Indianapolis, recommends, tidying up the yard, mowing, trimming bushes, adding some fresh mulch.
It sounds simple, but those things can make a huge difference.
They really can.
It's like setting the stage for the whole viewing experience, even before they walk in the door.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the front door itself. A fresh coat of paint and a new, more modern handle can really make a difference.
Yeah, it's amazing what a difference a few small details can make.
Oh, for sure. And they even suggest things like, a new welcome mat or some updated porch lighting to make the entrance feel more inviting.
Okay, so it's really about that warm, welcoming vibe.
Yeah, that feeling of, I could see myself living here.
Now, Kathleen Myers makes this really interesting point in the article. She says that buyers often form their first impression while they're standing on the porch waiting for the realtor to unlock the door.
Oh, that's so true. You're just standing there taking it all in.
So that space really needs to be on point.
It really does.
Yeah.
That front porch or entryway sets the tone for the whole house tour.
And speaking of making a good first impression,
It seems like a lot of these tips are about more than just like the physical stuff. It's like we're trying to create a certain feeling for the buyers.
yeah, you're totally right. It's about understanding buyer psychology. Like, how do we get them to fall in love with this house?
Right. You want to showcase it in a way that feels welcoming, aspirational even, but you also don't want to make it feel so personalized that buyers can't picture themselves actually living there.
It's a fine line to walk. So how do you do it? How do you find that sweet spot?
Well, depersonalization is key.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, the article talks about, removing personal items, things like family photos or, those little quirky collections that we all have, things that might distract the buyers from seeing the house itself.
Right, it's like we're creating a blank canvas so they can project their own lives onto it.
Exactly. Think of those, those model homes that you see.
Oh yeah, they always look so perfect.
Right. They feel luxurious and stylish, but in a neutral way that allows anyone to imagine themselves living there.
So if depersonalizing is about taking things away, are there things we should be adding to make a home more appealing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the article talks about the power of those small strategic upgrades. Things like, a fresh coat of paint, updated hardware, maybe even just a new shower head can make a big difference.
It's amazing what a difference those little details can make.
I know, right?
But how do you know which upgrades to choose? The ones that will actually make a difference to buyers.
That's a great question.
Mm.
And the experts in the article really stress focusing on updates that, most buyers will appreciate. It's not about showcasing your unique style. It's about understanding what the market wants.
Okay, so how do you figure out what buyers in your particular market are looking for?
Well, that's where a good realtor can be super helpful.
Makes sense.
They really have, their finger on the pulse of the local market, and they can tell you, what buyers are looking for and which upgrades will give you the best return on your investment.
It's like having a secret weapon in the whole home selling process.
It is. They can help you avoid those costly mistakes.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to that deep cleaning thing, because I'm still kind of stuck on that. Like, how deep are we talking here?
Oh, yeah, they get really specific in the article. Remember how they mentioned cleaning inside drawers?
I do.
Apparently, buyers actually check those. Who knew?
Wow. They really are looking for any reason to lower that offer.
Right. But the point is, it's all about presenting your house in a way that feels truly move-in ready, even in those unexpected places.
Right. It's like you're trying to create this illusion of perfection.
Exactly.
Like no one's ever actually lived here. And they also talk about cleaning appliances inside and out. I mean, who wants to see a dirty oven or a dusty refrigerator?
Yeah, it's all about making that good first impression.
It really is. So it's not just about cleaning what's visible. It's about going that extra mile to really impress those potential buyers.
Yeah, even those hidden spots matter. Oh, and while we're talking about bathrooms, the article also mentions some simple updates like new towels and making sure everything is sparkling clean.
Right.
But they also mention, maybe considering a new shower head or even replacing the faucet. It's amazing how those little things can freshen up a space.
Totally. It's like giving your bathroom a mini makeover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to cost a fortune. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about that depersonalization thing, because I think that's so important.
Okay, yeah, let's dive a little deeper into that. Why is it so crucial for sellers to depersonalize?
Well, remember how we were talking about the goal being to create a space that allows buyers to really envision themselves living there? If your house is too personalized, it can actually be distracting. They might have trouble, seeing past your style.
Right. It's like if you go to a hotel room, you want it to be comfortable and stylish, but you don't want to feel like you're intruding on someone else's space.
That's a perfect analogy. It's about creating that neutral space that feels welcoming but not overwhelming.
So, what are some practical tips for depersonalizing? Like, what are the first things we should be tackling?
Well, I'd say start by packing away those personal photos, mementos, anything that's super specific to your family. You want the buyers to be focusing on the house itself, not on your vacation pictures or your collection of, whatever it is you collect.
It makes sense. You want to create a sense of possibility, not a sense that you're, intruding on someone else's life.
Right. And another thing is to, neutralize your color palette. If you have any bold accent walls or brightly colored furniture, you might want to consider toning those down with some more neutral shades.
Right. Those light, airy colors that make a space feel larger.
Exactly. And don't forget about decluttering. You want to create a sense of order and spaciousness. So pack away anything that's not absolutely necessary. Clear off those countertops. Make sure closets and storage areas are tidy.
It's amazing how much of a difference decluttering can make.
It really is.
Yeah.
And all of these things, they work together to create that sense of move-in ready that we were talking about earlier. Okay, now let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the exterior of the home. We talked about curb appeal earlier, but it's so important that I think it deserves a little more attention.
You're right. We can't underestimate the power of that first impression.
Right. So let's talk landscaping.
Yeah.
What are some things that sellers can do to really make their yard shine?
I'm all ears.
Well, first and foremost, make sure your lawn is mowed and edged.
Okay, that's a good starting point.
Right. A neatly manicured lawn just creates a sense of order. It shows that you care about your property.
It's like you're putting on your best outfit for a job interview.
Exactly. And then trim those overgrown bushes and trees. Sometimes landscaping can get a little wild, and that can actually make a house look kind of neglected.
Right, and it can block light from getting in, which makes the house feel darker.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Now, speaking of making things brighter, you might want to consider adding some, colorful flowers or plants. Flowers just add that touch of vibrancy and cheer, and they can really make your landscaping pop.
Like adding a little pop of color to your outfit.
Right. And of course, don't forget about the front entrance. Make sure your front door is clean and freshly painted. Maybe add a new welcome mat. A few potted plants can make a big difference too.
Those are all great tips. But landscaping can get expensive, Are there any budget-friendly tips for sellers who maybe don't have a lot to spend?
Of course. One really easy thing you can do is just mulch your flower beds.
Mulch. Yeah, that's a good one.
It really does make a difference. Mulch helps retain moisture and prevent weeds. Plus, it just gives your landscaping a nice, finished look.
And it's fairly inexpensive, too.
Exactly. Oh, and another good tip is to plant perennials instead of annuals.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Because perennials come back year after year, so you don't have to replant them every spring. Saves you time and money. And speaking of saving money, don't underestimate the power of just cleaning things up. Rake up those leaves, remove any dead branches or debris, edge your sidewalks and driveway. Those little things can make a big difference.
I think a lot of people underestimate the power of a good cleanup. It really can make your yard look so much more inviting.
It really can. It's all about creating that overall impression of a well-cared-for home. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From staging and decluttering to deep cleaning and landscaping. But as we wrap things up, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? Those essential things to remember when they're prepping their homes for sale.
Yeah, what are the biggies?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that you're not just selling a house. You're selling a lifestyle. You're selling a dream.
Right, that vision of what their life could be like in this space.
Exactly. And while it's important to make your house look its best, don't go overboard with those super expensive upgrades. Focus on those smart strategic improvements that are really going to appeal to a wide range of buyers.
Right. It's about finding that balance between making improvements and not overspending on things that buyers might not even care about.
Exactly. And finally, don't be afraid to tap into your realtor's expertise. They're there to help you.
Right. They're your guide in this whole process.
Exactly. Okay, now, with all of that said, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question. So now that you've heard all this advice from the pros, what one simple upgrade do you think would make the biggest difference for buyers in your area?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what are those things that really catch a buyer's eye?
Right. It might be something super simple like a fresh coat of paint, or maybe it's about creating a really inviting outdoor space. It all depends on your market.
It's so interesting because, we've been talking about this whole thing in the context of selling your home, but honestly, a lot of these tips are just good practices for making your home a nicer place to live.
Totally. I mean, who wouldn't want a cleaner, brighter, more organized home?
Exactly. Whether you're selling or staying put, there's something to be learned here.
Absolutely.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into prepping your home for sale, just remember you don't have to spend a ton of money to make a big impact. It's all about those smart updates, a little elbow grease, and understanding what buyers are really looking for.
And don't forget your realtor. They could be such a valuable resource in this whole process.
Absolutely. They're there to help you every step of the way. So, to all our listeners out there getting ready to sell, best of luck.
Yeah, we're rooting for you.
And even if you're not selling right now, maybe it's time to give your own home a little market-ready refresh.
That's a great idea.
Until next time, happy selling and happy homemaking, everyone.